Pujya Atman Shri Swami Jyotirmayananda commences tonight's satsang with a Sanskrit peace chant.
Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We begin with Mystic Song by Sri Swami Lalitananda, played and sung by Sri Swami Umananda and Rajneesh.
Our song tonight is called All is Full. We are recording from the ashram of our revered Guru, Pujya Atman Shri Swami Jyotirmayananda in Miami, Florida. Today is July the 22nd, 2020, Wednesday evening, and tonight Swamiji will be lecturing on the Yoga Vasistha. This is series 2018, class number 258. And now, Pujya Atman Shri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adoration to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha Upasham Prakarana, section 92, and we are coming to very close of Upasham Prakarana. And profound insight into what leads the soul to attain the goal. The soul matches with the goal. And that's the best match the soul can have. But what will bring about that match? And that's called yoga, union, realization. Sage Vasistha said to Rama, O Rama, attachment is the cause of bondage. Your attachment is a broad term. If you are angry every day, you are practicing attachment to anger. So that's subtle implication of the word. You cling. Cling to something that's not true, not real. And it extends into both raga, dvesha. Your attachment to pleasure, that's called raga. Your attachment to pain, which operates in a different way, pain begins to dominate your mind. And when it goes away, you become bored. So where did it go? Look into your diary. In modern days, you have them all your fingertips. So pain has come back. I'm joking, but try to understand subtle points. So when we talk about attachment in a very broad way, it's implying clinging to anything that is not normal to your mind. Normal in the sense, whatever leads your mind to enlightenment, that I'm defining as normal. Anything that is taking your mind to nirmal, normal itself, nor plus mal. If nirmal is not there, there is no normality in your mind. Sri Rama asked, O glorious sage, what is Sangha? Attachment. How am I to attain asanga, being free from attachment? Just as the wind disperses the clouds in autumn, may you dispel the illusions of my mind. Autumn season plays very mystical implication in the scriptures. We always talk about Sharad Ritu. Sharad is when the moon shines so bright. Autumn season, where the clouds are not there in the sky. In Indian setting, you see, but that's what has gone into literature. So, when will I attain that type of purity of the heart? Heart is like a sky. And malas create dark clouds. And the joyous feeling within your heart is the moon. That moon becomes eclipsed or veiled, obstructed. But when will I have that full moon shining in the firmament of my heart? And Vasistha already said that when you are free of Sangha, Sage Vasistha replied, O Rama, that Ashubha Vasana, which causes pleasure at the sight of a desirable object, it's a profound statement. When you are drawn to objects of the world, led by fancies of your mind, sense of pleasure, not what is good, but what is pleasing your mind. When you are turning to objects with that, driven by the illusion of pleasure, if that happens, you are generating impressions of raga, dvesha, attachment, hatred, and broadly speaking, kleshas. Kleshas are 5. To remember them, look at your 5 fingers, the palm of your hand. Starting with ignorance, egoism, attachment, hatred, and fear of death. So these, when mind is constantly dominated by these 5 factors, and it's not something when I'm using only in a figurative way. There isn't a time when you're not dominated. The only way you are free of it, when mind becomes enlightened. Until then, the mind is always dominated by these. And this is the definition of death virus with 5 tentacles. It's like a worm. So first understand the distinction between klishta vasanas and aklishta vasanas. Klishta vrittis and aklishta vrittis. Thought waves that go on creating those 5 types of afflictions: ignorance, egoism, attachment, hatred, fear of death. So those thoughts, they are nourishing these 5 factors. They are klishta vrittis. Those subconscious subtle desires that sprout into these kleshas in a more manifest, vivid manner, they are called klishta vasanas. And the root source is called samskara. Samskaras are like seeds. Vasanas are sprouts. Vrittis, the sprouts begin to now grow into creepers, trees, or whatever. And when you have focused on these two types, klishta and aklishta, now turn your attention to the role of vasanas. Vasanas come in two groups, Shubha Vasana, Ashubha Vasana. Vasanas that are based upon 5 kleshas. That vasana is called Malina Vasana or Ashubha Vasana. Malin, impure. Ashubha, ominous. So, when you turn to the world and you are excited by objects of the world, that excitement is caused by your Ashubha Vasana. And that excitement urges your mind to develop more and more craving. There is no fulfillment, increasing craving. So, same world, you are thrilled by the world. The more you are thrilled, the more you are grilled. What to do about it? Comes the role of yoga, integral yoga. Create a blend, create a harmony in your personality, action, emotion, will and reason. When you have that harmony, now you are not excited by the object. Now your greed has become a different type of greed. What lesson can you learn from this? What is objects of the world? How are they inspiring me? If they are not inspiring me to turn to my own healthy state, then what use? Goodbye. No matter how pleasant it is. So, looks like a very selfish project. But it is selfish with a big S, not with a small s. Going after the world, led by raga dvesha, that type of pleasure is selfish pleasure, small s. You are continue to be kept in confined state of consciousness. On the other hand, as Shubha Vasana begins to develop, how you are inspired is not based upon how things appear to your mind in your fanciful state of mind. In other words, pleasure is not the basis for being drawn to objects of the world. What is the basis? Inspiration. An inspiration for what? Every object points to a profound reality that is indwelling within the object. How does a flower blossom? So much art is involved. So the wisdom is involved. A divine hand is behind it. Now, as you just enjoy the beauty of nature, your mind is not going after How can I have the same tree in my own garden? How miserable am I that that tree is not available? I'm joking only. But the idea is to understand, same object, instead of inspiring you, is making you perspire. If it is good, you want to hold it, you want to even kidnap it. And of course, when you don't like something, you want to distance it. But when you distance something, you must be there to see the distance. And you remain tense. If it goes too far beyond your vision, distance becomes too much. You are very tense. What has happened to it? So you want to keep it within your sight, but at a distance. Strange psychology. All that role of Ashubha Vasana, impure Vasana, versus pure Vasana. And always understand, in study, you can easily see the difference, pure, impure. In practice, it is a progressive movement. And you have always a blend. You have 90% impurity, 10% purity with it. Sometimes the purity aspect inspires you, but you give the credit to 90%. The small measure of sattva in it gives you happiness. And become very keen, how can I secure my happiness? Your mind doesn't go after that 10% good, it goes after 90% pleasure sense. I'm giving you strange mathematics. So while you are progressing, it's not a question of completely you have understood it. In words, it's easy to say. But in your life, how you deal with things, it depends upon different degrees. And in the same single day, one time you may be very sattvic, very clear-headed. Another time you may not be sattvic at all. But if you are predominantly sattvic, then you will not be deceived by the negative, by the lower self. You will continue to distance yourself from the lower self. And that happens again in a way that it is not within your control. You are linked to God's hand. God becomes your upadrashtanumantacha. He is watching over you. The truth is watching over you. The sun is watching over you. When will you open your window? So, Shubhavasana enables a person to discover his inner identity with the self and is called asanga. It exists as long as prarabdha sustains the body of the sage, and it brings about the termination of the world process. Now, you are dependent upon the role of vasana. First stage, Ashubha Vasana, will go on degrading you, trap you in the cycle of birth and death again and again. Shubha Vasana will liberate you from that cycle. In the ultimate stage, Vasana Kshaya, the Vasana simply dissolves completely. For easy understanding, sun is like the self. Dark cloud obscures the light of the sun. So, as long as dark cloud is there, you don't receive the joy of sunlight. But the same dark cloud, when it begins to thin out, thinning out process is developing Shubha Vasana in a progressive manner. As Klishta is gradually reduced and Aklishta advances, you are thinning out the cloud. You don't have to wait for complete thin out. Even a little portion of the cloud that has created a little passage for the sunlight, immediately the cloud begins to change its color. In the first stage, the cloud wants to obstruct that light. That's the demoniac state of cloud. Second state, the cloud becomes more lighter, moves in the sky in a most graceful manner, as if the cloud has developed now a different sense of its identity. Looks at its limbs, and the cloud feels how fashionable. Everything has become beautiful and shimmering, shining, and turn to the sun more. So that movement of the mind is Chittanash movement, Vasana Akshaya movement. Because in that movement, greater the light, greater the success in your sadhana, greater is the disappearance of your Ashubha as well as Shubha Vasanas. Until your Vasana, you don't live with your, as long as body is there, just as body is there, similarly mind will be there, Vasanas will be there, all will be there as long as you are with body. Once the body is dropped, all that will not continue to grip your soul. You are absolutely free. And even that point, that vasanas, etc., will be there as long as your body is there. That's for people around the sage, who will see the sage as a body, as a personality. But sage himself does not see himself as a personality, as a body. So you have to understand that point. In brief, a Jivan Mukta is perfectly liberated. He has no body, he has no mind, he has nothing. And of course, after death, even his body that is viewed by others is not there. But why this difference? It's the role of prarabdha. As long as prarabdha is there, body will be there. But only thing is, for a sage, it's the last body. For others, body after body. The vasanas that cause the vasana that causes bondage is sangha or attachment, while the vasana that liberates the soul from the world process is called asanga, detachment. The former is to be abandoned. Asanga is to be abandoned. And sangha is to be abandoned. And asanga has to be promoted by an aspirant. And this point has been highlighted in one of the statements of Sri Shankaracharya. Satsangatve nihasangatvam, nihasangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nishchalasatvam, nishchalasatve jivan mukti. By satsanga, you attain asanga, which is same as nihisanga, or is a negative implication. Asanga, nihisanga is synonym. By satsanga you attain asanga or nihisanga. If you don't have that attachment, now nirmohatvam, your mind will not have deluded vision of pleasure. As long as moha is there, you want happiness, but there is a delusion about it. And if you don't have moha, nishchal tattvam, the moha is not there, your entire focus is liberation. And if moha is absolutely cut down, you are liberated. Nirmohatve nishchala tattvam. You attain that identity of yours, which is nischal, immutable, immortal, unchanging, imperishable. Nischala tattve jivan mukti. And by attaining that, you have become enlightened even in life. O Rama, if you maintain a balanced mind during pleasure and pain, during prosperity and adversity, during praise and censure, and if you never allow your mind to be affected by attachment, fear or anger, you will attain the glorious state of asanga, this broad plan. And you can read it in one few seconds. And you may even think, oh, you know it now. But you have to focus on practicing it. And your practice, as I have explained, will always be in different degrees. You succeed, sometimes more, sometimes less. But what is needed is persistence, abhyasa, blended with vairagya, dispassion. Now, just to make you further understand the balanced mind during pleasure and pain. Now, it is normal that everyone looks for situations that are free of pain. And when you have that situation, you feel happy. But now what is being pointed out? Even while you have pain, create by your sadhana and deeper insight that it is a kind of a mystic opportunity for you to practice austerity. Certain errors have brought you into a painful situation. If painful situations had not come, you would not be directing your attention to what errors did you commit. And so, thanks to adversity, you are stuck with a thorn, and you don't even know that you are stuck with a thorn. It's not a healthy state. But now, you are not that paralyzed personality. You feel the pain very much. But that is in itself, thank God you feel it. Now we do something about it. So, try to understand. So how do you maintain balanced mind? First stage, understand there is a purpose. Instead of suddenly be swayed by your experience of pleasure and pain, try to figure out what's the meaning. If there is a pleasure, is it inspiring you? Is it taking you to satsanga? Is it taking you to Godward movement? If it is not, hold back. That again becomes your challenge. The pleasure is temptation. And sometimes temptations are more challenging to the mind than your painful experiences. From broad point of view, understand that life goes on presenting situations of pleasure and pain. Prosperity and adversity, gain and loss. These things will be always there. But you are always gaining from both aspects. Pain is allowing you to develop patience, endurance, willpower, turning towards God for resolution, as well as improving your self-effort. First point, deal with your pain or any problem with all your resources. Leave no stone unturned. Do everything possible. But while doing it, don't exhaust yourself. The very fact that you have done the best way you can allows your internal state of mind gain strength. So even though you have not completely overcome it, you are gaining internal strength. But while doing your self-effort, a bigger self-effort is to understand how to channelize God's grace, how to bring in a divine energy to heal your body or your mind or both. Your problems are not just in the body and mind level. The deeper source within you is divine, God. So then, in brief, prosperity is leading you to more joyous relation with God, making you more generous, more broad-hearted, utilizing your energy for serving others. Adversity is allowing you to have more practice of austerity, more meditation, more japa, more prayer. So both ways you are gaining, enriching yourself. And therefore you look at the world that presents both conditions with a vision of asanga, detachment. Detachment towards what appears. Apparent look is not the reality. You are facing a negative personality in your relationships. That negative personality is presenting situations for you to control your anger, to deal with your ego and many things. If things are always done to you exactly as you want, you cannot have any real improvement in your life. So even in close-knit relations, there is always pointing finger. If you do not wither during adversity, nor bloom during prosperity, is the poetic writing. You will not remain a slave to the restless desires of the mind. Then, though abiding in the world and performing various actions, you will remain inwardly detached from the world. So detachment here is not meant to just shut out all action, all your duties, and lock up yourself, locked out. When your chitta, mind stuff, becomes enlightened, and you are able to behold the self as the only reality behind all objects, you will no longer be a slave to the senses. So that's what you get by asanga. No longer a slave. You are always, in the state of bondage, you are always dependent. In three ways, you are dependent upon the physical, practical realities. You are dependent upon the world of sentiments. You are dependent on the world of insights, how to gain quick insight, how to get knowledge of so many things. But with enlightenment, you are no longer dependent on any of this. A reflected sun is dependent on so many situations for its betterment. But the sun has no dependence. The same reflected sun essentially is the sun. So that essential identity has to be discovered, that self-realization. Endowed with asanga, O Rama, be like a mountain in the midst of raging storms. That points to mukti, liberation. Or like the moon in the midst of drifting clouds. This relates to bhakti, devotion. Moon in the midst of drifting clouds. Moon is that experience of divine love blossoming in the firmament of your heart. And when that type of love develops, all challenging things are only drifting clouds. Even this will pass away. Do not degrade the mind through anger and hatred, through raga dvesha. And that relates to karma yoga. But I'm pointing out all the 4 yogas are pointed out in a poetic language. Rather, elevate your mind by the development of divine virtues. This points to dhyana yoga, that allows you to develop Daivi Sampats, divine virtues. The more meditative quality, greater are your ability to cultivate divine virtues. And practice of spiritual inquiry, and that's Jnana Yoga. So all the 4 yogas, mukti, liberation, allegorically be like a mountain. Bhakti, let divine love wax like the moon in the clear firmament of your heart. Bhakti movement. Be free of raga dvesha, attachment, hatred. That's karma yoga that purifies your malas. And inquire into who am I, that's jnana yoga. And don't forget developing Daivi Sampat, divine virtues. That's Dhyana Yoga. Jnana is inquiry. Dhyana focuses on cultivating divine virtues. It automatically happens. Bhakti focuses on developing divine love. Your heart becomes dominated by that love. And jnana, inquiry into who am I. All this together makes your soul like the Himalayan mountain, unaffected by all the storms and the rains and so forth. Thus ends Upasham Prakarana, Volume 3. And I will just introduce a little to the next volume, Volume 4. It is known as Nirvana Prakarana, Purvardha. Nirvana Prakarana. Nirvana is the liberation, and it is presented in 2 volumes. Purvardha, first half, Uttarardha, second half. The section 1 this opens up like the storytelling. In the storytelling way, all Yoga Vasistha is being taught in a royal assembly, vast hall, contains lots of people listening to Vasistha's talk given to Rama. All types of people, sages, saints, and they go further, even the birds, etc., if they have sneaked into it. They are all entranced as Vasistha tells this story. But every day, it is the session of satsanga starts at a time, and by the evening when sun goes down, the day ends and all people retire. So here is a description of ending of a day. And always understand the stories are just one way to give you subtle way of enlightening your mind. It has allegorical meaning. Allegorical meaning, when you practice, live your life which is integral yoga, you are enjoying satsanga in a special way. And if you have enjoyed your satsanga nicely, if you have lived your day rightly, you will go to sleep in a very relaxed manner. And in that state of relaxation, all that you have listened to, you will go on chewing the cud and be highly nourished. So this point is brought out by bringing the storyline. How does the day end and how people feel after the day has ended, and how does the day begin. As sage Vasistha was showering his magnificent words of wisdom, the day declined, and the time for the termination of the day's satsanga was approaching. Rama and other princes were listening to the sage's nectarine words with profound attention, and the kings and the royal officers were lost in deep reflection. And also you are being given picture of how satsanga touches different aspirants in different ways, because all are not in the same level. Some are kshatriyas, kings, looking for power. Some are saintly personalities. Some are spiritual seekers. Some are very advanced. Some are not so. But in satsanga you don't go after keeping a machine and checking everybody. Who is qualified? All are absolutely welcome. And all are benefited. So, kings and royal officers, they were lost in deep reflection when they were listening. The assembled saints and sages were pondering upon the marvelous oration of sage Vasistha. and expressing their wonder at his profound wisdom by curling their eyebrows and raising their index fingers. See, when satsanga goes on, they couldn't say anything. But you are allowed to raise your eyebrows. And raise your finger. It's the right thing. Even the servant women of the palace were lost in ecstasy, resembling a cluster of bees sucking the sweet honey of wisdom that flowed through the lips of sage Vasistha. This again, to understand, this is the description of satsanga. It was the end of the day. The sun was sinking fast in the western horizon, and the breeze began to softly blow, as if intent on listening to the teachings of the sage, giving a kind of mystical, poetic touch that the day departed, but the breeze so shows the suspense that this day was wonderful, how cool. Let's see the next day will be better. So the breeze will play the part of making people go to sleep and wake up refreshed with more capacity to listen and to enjoy. Hungrier you are, more relishing is the food. The evening breeze blew, laden with the fragrance of the sage's wisdom. Even the lakes with their gentle waves sparkled amid their embroidered beds, as if thrilled in ecstasy. And the breeze brought that vibrations everywhere. And all nature as if enjoyed the satsanga. So with this we conclude. Om Ram 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 Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om. Prayer for shower of Karunamaya Ras of divine grace over all, and for kindling the light of aspiration in every heart for attaining self-realization, nirvana, maha-nirvana, brahma-nirvana. And that's the goal of life. And may you all be blessed with Shakti, strength, to be on the right course, no matter how things may be challenging around you. Bhakti, and while you face your challenges, it should be a delightful experience in your heart. Sweet juice of divine pancake syrup. And mukti, liberation. Shakti, bhakti, mukti. Always remember. That makes the life saras, joyous. And may you all be blessed. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukmuva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mritat Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukh bhag bhavet, asato ma sadgamaya, tamso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityor ma mritam gamaya. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Are there any questions this evening for Swamiji? Okay, and then we conclude. Just like Yoga Vasistha, satsangs conclude. For a peaceful night.